We're back to Exercism. Let us solve transpose this time. We're still in JavaScript, obviously. It's a little bit more tricky. I try to explain it as best as I can, but we have an array given, for example here, A, B, C, D, E, F, and then it needs to be rearranged so that the rows become the columns and the columns become the rows. Sometimes we also have to include white spaces, and we want to pad them to the left, so never to the right. In this case, DEF, for example, creates a white space on the left to F. And here we have ABC. Let us dive in. We'll get an input. It's always a text. For example, here A1 or AN1 as separate elements. We might even get a sentence, but it always works the same way. First up, I have to find a matrix, which is going to be our result, and we want to return that in the end. So return matrix. It's going to be the output, so rearranged input. You can see the matrix. Here, for example, input is A1, and the matrix would be A, 1. To cycle through an array, we can use a for loop, and we use a nested for loop. For example, here we have two sentences. So the first dimension, the first for loop, cycles through the two sentences, and the second cycles through each one individually. So the fourth line, for example, and the fifth line, these would be cycled through with the for loop. That's the outer one in code line 9, and the individual letters in each, they will be cycled through with the for loop that's nested in code line 10. Don't let me mix up counters here, it's I and J. And for the second one, we need input at index position I.length. That's the difference, don't get that mixed up. But now we cycle through them and we find every single element, in this case the letters and the white spaces. Inside, I have to find a row length and set it to 0. And also a current element, so the letter, for example T in the fourth line, and this is at input index I and J. So here it would be A, then B, then C, then afterwards D and E and F, and so forth. Now we'll go to our matrix J position, and we'll adjust our row length. We want to set this to matrix J.length. So whatever we've got here, let's get back to the instructions. Here, for example, it would be 2, ABC would be 3, and so forth. So this is how we can find our row length. And now we want to check if our counter is bigger than the row length. I was the outer counter. In this case, we need our current elements, and then we use a pet start method. If you've never heard of that, you can find an explanation right here on W3 Schools. I'm going to link to it in the description below. But in easy terms, we have a text equal to 5, and then we use pet start 4, 0. 4 is the length that we want to have of the total element, in our case the text, and 0 is what we want to add until we have reached this length. So in our case we want to add white spaces, so I just add quotation marks with a white space. And the length, we need to determine it using I and the row length. I was wrong, let me delete this. We need I minus row length plus 1. So this is how we can determine how long our new rows should be and how often we need to add a white space. So in this case, I was the counter. Row length, this was now set to our matrix J length. So this is what this code line does. Once again, check out the pet start if this is new to you. I think that W3 Schools has explained that pretty well. And now we are almost done. We just have to set up our matrix using the elements. In the first case, we use matrix J plus equals our element. So if something is there, we'll just add the element to it. For example, here we have fracture F, and then for outline the O would be added. And if there is none, we'll just add our element, so matrix J equals element without a plus sign. If we look at fracture again, the R, for example, would find a position where there is nothing in front, so we'll just add R as a current element in the next row. So this is what code line 21 does. And if I haven't made any typos here, I should be good. Let me try it. I run the tests. And we're good. Obviously this is just my solution, but I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.